The message reached my phone at exactly 9:14 p.m. I remember the time because I had just finished winding the old grandfather clock in my living room. For 30 years my evenings followed almost the same routine. A cup of chamomile tea. A few pages from whatever history book I happened to be reading. One final walk around my small farmhouse outside Helena, Montana. Then bed. Quiet. Predictable. Peaceful. After 3 decades in the army, peace had become my favorite sound. My phone vibrated once. I almost ignored it. Most people who texted me that late were neighbors asking if I could watch their dog or help them move a fence the next morning. But when I looked down, my heart stopped. Only 3 words appeared on the screen. Silver Sparrow. Hurry. Nothing else. No explanation. No phone call. No emoji. Just those words. I stared at the screen so long that the tea in my hand slowly grew cold. Because I knew exactly what those words meant. My daughter had just used the emergency code we created 25 years ago. My name is Margaret Carter. I'm 68 years old. Most people think I'm just another retired widow living quietly in Montana. The lady who volunteers at the local library. The one who bakes apple pies for church fundraisers. The woman everyone waves to at the grocery store. That's all they know. And that's exactly how I wanted it. Because I never talked about the 30 years I spent serving in the United States Army. Not with my neighbors. Not with my friends. Not even with my son-in-law. Jason believed I had worked as an office administrator before retirement. I never corrected him. Some parts of your life become easier to carry when no one asks about them. I called Emma immediately. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. A 3rd time. Still nothing. The silence scared me more than anything she could have said. People answer the phone when they're free. They don't. When someone else controls the room. 25 years earlier. Emma was only 13. Her father had passed away unexpectedly, leaving just the 2 of us. One rainy evening she asked me something I never forgot. Mom. What if someday I'm scared but I can't tell you? I smiled back then. Children imagine impossible situations. Or so I thought. I reached into the kitchen drawer and wrote 2 words on a small piece of paper. Silver Sparrow. If you ever text me these words. I won't ask questions. I won't waste time. I'll come. He hugged me. We laughed. Then we forgot about it. Or at least, I believed we had. Until tonight. I grabbed my car keys. My flashlight. A small medical kit I always kept in my truck. Old habits never truly leave soldiers. Sighed. Cold rain had already begun falling across the valley. Thunder rolled somewhere over the mountains. As I locked the front door, my Labrador Daisy stood beside me. She looked unusually restless. Animals notice fear before humans do. I'll be back. I whispered. Though somehow, I wasn't sure I believed myself. Emma lived 35 minutes away in a quiet neighborhood outside Billings. The rain grew heavier the farther I drove. Windshield wipers barely kept up. Every mile brought another memory I had ignored. Emma canceling Sunday dinners. Jason correcting her in front of guests. The way she apologized for things that weren't her fault. The way my grandson, Noah, became strangely quiet every time Jason entered the room. Christmas. Noah accidentally spilled orange juice. Jason didn't yell. He smiled. Then calmly explained why careless people embarrassed their families. Everyone around the table laughed nervously. Except Noah. The little boy never touched another glass the rest of the evening. At the time, I convinced myself Jason simply believed in discipline. Now, I wondered if I had mistaken fear for respect. Jason had always impressed people. Successful financial advisor. Perfect smile. Beautiful home. Luxury SUV. The kind of man who knew exactly what to say at exactly the right time. He called me Mom. Held doors open. Sent flowers on Mother's Day. People loved him. So did I. At first. But charm can hide many things. Especially from people who want to believe the best. Halfway there, my phone rang. It was Mike Reynolds. One of the few people who knew who I used to be. We had served together for nearly 16 years. He answered before I could speak. Margaret. It's Emma. Silence. Then, she used it. Yes. I'm coming. You don't have to. I'm already on the road. That was Mike. He never wasted words. He simply acted. 10 minutes later, his pickup appeared in my rearview mirror. We stopped near an empty gas station. Rain hammered the roof as he climbed into my truck. He looked older than the last time I'd seen him. Gray beard. Heavy jacket. Sharp eyes that still scanned every detail around us. "You armed?" he asked quietly. I nodded once. He didn't ask anything else. Some conversations don't need more words. When we turned onto Emma's street, everything looked perfectly normal. Streetlights glowed softly. Children's bicycles rested beside driveways. A television flickered through a nearby window. Ordinary. Too ordinary. Then we heard it. A child crying. Mike looked toward Emma's house. "That's Noah." I already knew. Every grandmother knows her grandchild's voice. Even through rain. Emma's front door wasn't fully closed. It moved slightly every time the wind pushed against it. The porch light remained on. No cars passed. No neighbors stood outside. Just silence. Then, a loud crash echoed from inside. Glass breaking. Immediately afterward, Noah screamed, "Mom!" Every instinct buried inside me for decades came rushing back. Preserve. Think. Move. I stepped onto the porch. Mike stayed close behind me. The rain soaked my jacket within seconds. I reached the front door and slowly pushed it open. The smell hit me first. Burned food. Whiskey. And fear. Real fear. The living room looked untouched. But the kitchen was another story. A broken chair lay on its side. Glass covered the floor. Emma stood near the counter. Her face pale. Her sweater sleeve torn. Noah clung tightly to her waist. And standing only a few feet away, holding a whiskey glass in his hand, was Jason. He looked directly at me. Forced a smile. Then calmly said the sentence liars almost always choose first. "Margaret. This isn't what it looks like." I looked past him. Straight into my daughter's eyes. She wasn't crying. She wasn't speaking. She was silently asking for help. And in that exact moment, I realized something that still haunts me. The emergency code hadn't saved her from one terrible night. It had simply brought me to the first night. I finally saw what she'd been hiding for years. For a few seconds, nobody moved. The rain outside tapped against the windows, but inside the house the silence felt even louder. Jason slowly placed his whiskey glass on the kitchen island. His smile never disappeared. "Margaret," he said in a calm voice. Emma got upset. That's all. I didn't answer him. My eyes stayed on my daughter. Emma's hands were trembling. She kept one arm wrapped around Noah, almost like she was trying to shield him from the entire world. That told me everything I needed to know. Jason took another step toward us. "You came all this way because of a misunderstanding." Emma suddenly flinched. Just a tiny movement. Most people would never have noticed it. I did. 30 years in the army teaches you something most people never learn. Fear speaks before words do. I walked past Jason without looking at him. "Emma." Her eyes filled with tears. "I called because." She stopped. Jason answered for her. "She's emotional." I turned slowly. "I wasn't talking to you." For the first time that evening. His smile faded. Only for a second. Then it came back. "You don't understand what happened." "I understand enough." Noah quietly looked up at me. His tiny voice barely escaped his lips. "Grandma. Is Mommy in trouble?" That question shattered my heart. I knelt beside him. "No." I whispered. "Not anymore." He wrapped both arms around my neck. His little body shook as he cried. Children don't fake fear. They live inside it. Mike quietly entered the kitchen. He looked once around the room. Broken glass. A cracked picture frame. Emma's phone lying beneath the dining table with the screen completely shattered. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He had seen scenes like this before. Too many times. Jason let out a frustrated sigh. "Can everyone stop acting like I'm some kind of criminal?" Emma finally spoke. "You broke my phone. You threw it. It slipped." "No. You threw it because I tried calling my mother." The room fell silent again. Jason laughed nervously. "You're exaggerating." I slowly walked toward the broken phone. Picked it up. The screen had dozens of cracks. The back cover was bent. That wasn't an accident. I looked directly into Jason's eyes. "Did you touch my daughter?" His jaw tightened. I grabbed her arm. So yes. I was trying to calm her down. Emma shook her head. You shoved me. I almost hit the kitchen counter. Jason immediately interrupted. You lost your balance. There was the rewriting. Every answer carefully designed to make her question her own memory. Mike quietly stepped toward Noah. Hey buddy. Would you help me look for cookies? Noah looked at Emma. Only after she nodded did he walk away. Children ask permission when they don't feel safe. That alone broke my heart. I turned back toward Emma. How long? She stared at the floor. About 2 years. My chest tightened. 2 years. She nodded. It wasn't always like tonight. It started small. He criticized everything. The way I dressed. The people I talked to. The money I spent. He apologized every time. I believed him. Tears rolled down her face. I kept thinking the old Jason would come back. I closed my eyes for a moment. How many signs had I ignored? Birthday dinners she suddenly canceled. Family vacations she always had an excuse to miss. The way she never laughed the same anymore. I had seen every piece. I simply never put them together. Jason folded his arms. So now we're telling stories? Emma looked at him for the first time that night. No. I'm finally telling the truth. Jason's face hardened. You know people won't believe you. Emma looked surprised. Why? Because everyone thinks I'm the perfect husband. He smiled. They'll believe me. Those words echoed through the room. Not because they were loud. Because they sounded practiced. Like he had repeated them many times before. Mike returned from the hallway. I called the sheriff. Jason stared at him. You what? They're on their way. For the first time, real panic crossed Jason's face. It disappeared almost instantly. But I saw it. Training teaches you to recognize fear hidden beneath confidence. 10 minutes later, 2 sheriff's deputies arrived. Deputy Sarah Collins. And Deputy Daniel Brooks. Deputy Collins took one look at Emma's arm. Dark fingerprints had already begun appearing near her elbow. She looked toward Jason. Sir. I need you to step outside. Jason smiled politely. Officer. This is just a family misunderstanding. Deputy Collins didn't move. Outside. Her voice never became louder. Didn't need to. While Deputy Brooks spoke with Jason on the front porch, Deputy Collins sat beside Emma. She spoke gently. Did your husband hurt you tonight? Emma stayed silent. She looked toward the front door. Toward Jason. Deputy Collins noticed. So did I. Victims often look toward the person they're afraid of before answering. It's a habit built by years of control. Finally, Emma whispered, yes. One word. One honest word. And years of silence finally broke. Noah walked back into the kitchen holding Mike's hand. He looked at his mother. Then at Deputy Collins. In a tiny voice he asked, is Daddy going to be angry? Nobody answered immediately. Deputy Collins slowly knelt beside him. No. She smiled gently. Tonight your mommy is safe. The little boy began crying. Not loudly. Quietly. Like someone who had been holding those tears inside for a very long time. Nearly an hour later, Jason was escorted to the patrol vehicle. As he reached the driveway, he stopped, turned around, and looked directly at me. You think you've won? I calmly stepped onto the porch. Rain had finally stopped. The night air felt cold against my face. I didn't come here to win. I came because my daughter asked for help. Jason laughed. You don't even know who I am. I looked at him for several seconds. Then I answered quietly. No. But I know exactly what you are. For the first time, his confidence cracked. Only for a moment. Then the deputy opened the patrol car door. Jason climbed inside without another word. As the flashing red and blue lights disappeared down the street, Emma walked onto the porch beside me. She slipped her hand into mine. Exactly the way she used to when she was a little girl. Mom. She whispered. I was so afraid you wouldn't believe me. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. I should have seen it sooner. She shook her head. No. You came the moment I asked. I looked toward the dark road where the patrol car had vanished. Something told me this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Because after 30 years in the army, I had learned one lesson that never failed. Sometimes the hardest battle doesn't begin on a battlefield. Sometimes it begins the moment someone you love finally whispers, "Help me." The house felt different after the patrol car disappeared. Not because it was finally quiet, because for the first time in years, that silence no longer belonged to fear. It belonged to hope. Noah had fallen asleep on my shoulder before midnight. I carried him gently to the guest bedroom at my farmhouse after Emma agreed to spend a few days with me. As I tucked the blanket around him, he whispered in his sleep, "Mommy, it's okay." Even asleep, he was still trying to protect her. I stood there for a long moment. Some battles leave scars no one else can see. The next morning, the smell of pancakes filled the kitchen. It had always been Emma's favorite breakfast. She walked in wearing one of my old sweaters, her hair tied back loosely. She looked exhausted. But for the first time in a long while, she also looked safe. Neither of us spoke while I poured coffee. Finally, she broke the silence. "Mom, I don't even know where to start. You don't have to tell me everything today. You've carried it alone for years. You don't have to carry it all in one morning." She smiled faintly. Then the tears came. For nearly 2 hours, Emma told me everything. It hadn't started with violence. It started with criticism. Jason slowly convinced her that she wasn't smart enough, that her friends were a bad influence, that her family didn't understand their marriage. Then he began controlling the money. Every paycheck went into an account only he managed. If she wanted to buy groceries, he had to ask. If she bought something without telling him, he called her irresponsible. Little by little, he took away every decision she could make for herself. "I thought if I loved him enough," Emma whispered, "he would become the man I married." I reached across the table and held her hand. "The man you married stopped choosing kindness. That wasn't your fault." Later that afternoon, Deputy Sarah Collins returned. She carried a thick folder. We found more evidence. Inside were photographs of the house, messages recovered from Jason's laptop, bank records, insurance documents. Deputy Collins looked at Emma. "There's something you need to see." She placed a file on the table. Jason had secretly taken out loans using Emma's personal information. He had also emptied nearly all of Noah's college savings account. Emma covered her mouth. "No. He promised he was adding money." Deputy Collins nodded sadly. "He wasn't." The room fell silent. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was theft. 3 weeks later, Jason requested a meeting through his attorney. Emma looked nervous. "I don't want to see him." "You won't be alone," I answered. "I'll be there." So would her lawyer. And the sheriff's department. The meeting took place in a quiet conference room at the courthouse. Jason walked in wearing an expensive navy suit. From a distance, he looked exactly the same. But confidence isn't something you can fake forever. His eyes looked tired. His smile never quite reached his face. He looked at Emma. "I've made mistakes." Nobody answered. "I lost control." "Still nothing." "I never wanted to hurt you." Emma calmly folded her hands. "You didn't lose control. You wanted control." The room became silent. Jason looked toward me. "This is because of you. You poisoned her against me." I looked him directly in the eyes. "No. You spent years teaching my daughter to fear her own voice." I simply reminded her she still had one. For the first time, Jason had no answer. The divorce took several months. The legal process moved slowly. There was no dramatic courtroom speech. No applause. Real justice rarely looks like television. It arrives through paperwork, documents, patient investigators, and people finally telling the truth. Jason lost his job after investigators uncovered financial fraud inside his company. Several clients filed complaints. His professional license was suspended while the investigation continued. Emma never celebrated. She simply moved forward. Spring arrived in Montana. The snow melted from the mountains. One Saturday morning, I found Noah in the backyard planting sunflower seeds. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" He smiled. "Mom says flowers always come back after winter." I looked toward the porch. Emma stood there holding a cup of coffee. For the first time in years, she looked peaceful. Not because everything had been fixed, but because she no longer woke up afraid. A few weeks later, Emma returned to teaching. He had always loved working with children. On her first day back, I visited her classroom after school. Paintings covered every wall. Tiny handprints. Bright colors. Laughter echoed through the hallway. Emma was helping a little girl finish a picture of a butterfly. She looked up and smiled. A real smile. Not the careful smile she used to wear whenever Jason was watching. A free smile. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed it. That evening, while we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Emma asked the question I'd been expecting. "Mom, why didn't you ever tell Jason you served in the army?" I looked out across the open fields. Because I wanted him to respect me for who I was. Not because of what I'd done. She nodded slowly. But when I sent the code, you came without asking a single question. I smiled. I made you a promise when you were 13. I intended to keep it. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't. I kissed the top of her head. You'll never have to find out. Months passed. Life slowly found its rhythm again. Noah laughed more. Emma slept through the night. The house no longer felt heavy. Sometimes healing isn't loud. Sometimes it looks like pancakes on a Saturday morning. A child riding his bicycle without fear. A daughter laughing at something that isn't funny. Those ordinary moments become extraordinary after surviving pain. One afternoon, I opened the old wooden chest in my bedroom. Inside were my army medals. Letters from soldiers I'd served with. A folded American flag. 30 years of memories. Emma walked in quietly. She looked at the medals. I used to think these were your greatest achievements. I smiled. They aren't. She looked surprised. I closed the box gently. My greatest achievement is sitting here watching my daughter live without fear. Tears filled her eyes. She hugged me tightly. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. Sometimes people believe courage is found on battlefields. After 30 years in the army, I learned something very different. The greatest courage isn't carrying a weapon. It's asking for help before it's too late. My daughter found that courage the night she sent 2 simple words. Silver Sparrow. She thought she was asking me to save her. The truth is, she saved herself the moment she decided she no longer had to suffer in silence. And if there's one lesson I hope every parent, every daughter, and every family remembers, it's this. No secret is too heavy. No fear is too shameful. And no one who truly loves you will ever think you're weak for asking for help. Sometimes, the bravest message you'll ever send is only 2 words long.